Welcome back, everyone. I'm Zell, and today we're talking about the Kershaw AM-4, their collaboration with Almar in the midsize. Alright guys, a few days ago we talked about the AM-3, and just about everything we talked about with the AM-3 applies here. So we're not going to rehash all of that. We're going to jump right into it. We have G10 scales. They are a little bit slick, but really they're going to be okay. We've got nice red colored standoffs. Blade is centered right down the wickets, and a blackened stainless steel lock side with that deep carry pocket clip. On this model, we have a closed length of 4 1/4 inches, a handle thickness of 0.424, and a closed height of 1.1. So it's still a very, very small knife, and we'll get it open here and we'll make some comparison. There's our Rat Model 1, our Buck 110, and it's a little smaller than both those guys. Maybe not so much smaller in blade length to the Rat, but still a smaller, lighter weight knife overall. And there is our Delica, which is blade length wise a smaller knife. And while we've got it open, we'll get that blade up here, and it's very similar to the AM-3. We have a hologram blade with these nice swedges cut right up through there, and it is a slab of 8CR13 MOV at 3.44 inches long for the blade with an edge length of 3.2. And not really a fair comparison here because I have sharpened this blade, but everybody likes to see them cut, so here we go. And this blade has been sharpened on the KME, but it was still pretty dang sharp whenever it showed up. You know, after the KME, we can do crazy cuts like that and stuff like that. It's just crazy sharp. And from here, we will go to our pause and read card, and then I'll be right back with you. Alright guys, mechanically we are just about like every other speed safe knife. We have a torsion bar down in here which holds the knife closed and assists you whenever you flip the knife open. We have a set of phosphor bronze bushings down in there. They are pretty small, but the knife is centered up extremely well, and the action works well. No blade play. Kershaw has done a very good job. The only complaint I could have about this particular one is we're at like 80% lockup pretty much out of the box. Which that isn't great, but again, it's a $35 knife. We have to take that into consideration. Our lock mechanism, as you saw there, is a steel frame lock, and that's what we have on this backside is stainless steel. So we don't need any lock interfaces or lock inserts or any of that. And while we got it here, let's get it in the pocket and see what we come up with there. Now for the pocket clip, they have used a fold over style pocket clip that works really well. It's plenty deep carry and plenty long enough to keep that knife in your pocket, and it's deep enough that you can use it in just about any type of pants you might have. I've had it with the 511s and denim and whatnot, and no problems whatsoever with the pocket clip. Now moving on to ergonomics. Now this is a place, like I said with the AM-3, that people are going to complain, love it or hate it, but put your hand around the knife and your thumb falls on that jimping. It's not terribly rough, but it's plenty. And once you're into that jimping, your hand pretty much locks into this little knife, even though this G10 is fairly slick. Same thing no matter how you get a hold of it. Everything seems to work fine. It's that thing we've talked about 100 times. Simple handle design wins. The only problem I have here is this clip is getting me right in here. Don't like that, but it's really not too bad, and you could make some adjustments to use it with very little problem. So, what is my overall impression? Well, once again, this is a knife that is definitely all Almar, just like the AM-3. Even got Almar's little insignia right here, and it baffles me that Almar would allow Kershaw to make these using 8CR13 MOV, which in my opinion is a fairly equivalent steel to the AUS 8 that he tries to sell in his knives that cost close to $200. Now, I understand that there's fit, finish, all these other things that his knives have that the Kershaw is, we won't say lacking in, but not as good at. However, the blade steel is fairly equivalent. You know, and whenever we buy a knife, we're buying the action, we're buying the materials, and one of those materials is the blade steel. And whenever we pass about $50 or so, I expect that blade material to get above 8CR13 MOV, to get above AUS 8, and get above some of the other, what we call budget steels. And Almar doesn't do that very often. Now, there are certain sprint runs, and occasionally you can get an ultralight and some other steels, but it just baffles me that he allows Kershaw to sell this knife with a similar steel, and for sure one of the better build quality knives that I've seen come out of Kershaw. Besides the lockup being kind of late, and you know, whenever we're talking about a $35 knife, that lockup's going to last a long time where it's at, so we're not really that bad with the late lockup. You know, it's kind of baffling because, well, as you can see here, I bought both of these guys, and I would have never touched an Almar ultralight. Why? Because those prices for that type of steel, at that price point, I don't have to make compromises. At around $200, I can go to several knife companies and I can get exactly what I want. I can get the light knife, I can get the small knife, I can get the knife with the premium blade materials. So Almar and his knives, unless you happen to find one that does have some premium blade material, fly off the map. But to get an Almar design at $30 and $35, pretty freaking awesome. And if you are out there looking for a lightweight EDC knife, these Almars AM-3 and AM-4, this being the AM-4, are definitely something to look at. Now, they are a Chinese-made Kershaw, so you're going to want to handle them first if possible. Or if you're buying from Blade HQ or Knife Center or GP Knives, leave them a note and say, please check the action and centering before sending the blade. And they will do that. And hopefully you'll end up with a good one. Now, we have seen a lot of Kershaws, several Kershaws this year. I guess not really a lot yet. And so far, all of them have been pretty dadgum good. So, maybe Kershaw is getting the point. But anyhow, the AM-4, again, it's one of those knives that I would like to see Kershaw or Kai Industries with Kershaw and ZT. I'd like to see this knife in an upper end Kershaw with a titanium backside of the lock side and better blade steel and maybe even some carbon fiber on the show side. And, you know, up in that $100, $150 range is where I would like to see another version of this knife. And, you know, I just think that would be awesome, and I hope we see something like that. You know, we do get to see that with the Hinderer knives. We got Hinderer knives from like $30, $35 through Kai Industries and ZT all the way up to 200 and some, 300 and some bucks. And I would like to see them do that with Almar as well and get more of these designs out there where We've got them at several different price points for several different consumers. Anyhow, guys, the AM-4 is a pretty great knife. A little slick on the handle. This one happens to have a little bit late lockup, but great design, great little cutter. And if it's something that you're interested in, having something lightweight like this at 3.1 ounces, it could be just what you're looking for. And you're getting an Almar at 35 bucks. Anyhow, guys, I really appreciate you hanging out with me. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.